Let's work our way up, shall we? This footage was taken on what was probably my angriest day of 2019. This is going to sound stupid and very well, poor little rich girl of me, but here we go anyway. I had let all of my little frustrations about my old day job bottle up for months, planned too much to do for YouTube on my unpredictable schedule, was already way behind on my projects, and then on a day when I'd planned to film all day and make up for lost time, I ended up having my plans derailed because of my day job again. Getting asked to work remotely on things I had already explained I would not do, but I caved and did anyway, despite having to cancel my shoot because I felt bad saying no. Which was the real reason I was angry. Not because my silly little day job had interrupted my silly little #YouTuber schedule, but because I have done a lot of things, because I felt bad saying no. The only person I seem to not mind saying no to at all is myself. I spent a lot of 2019 waiting around for my day job to settle into routine again and stop screwing up my other schedule entirely. Far too long. I should have left much earlier because while the hours themselves were not a huge problem, the unpredictable and spontaneous nature of it all was. It meant I could never schedule out the rest of my work, and that was an issue that kept me rather stressed and made me miss deadlines and made me resent a job I used to like, and mostly it just made me angry with myself for not valuing my own time enough to just say, no, I have work to do. Because creative work isn't real work. It feels easily dismissible by people I've worked for, by myself. But I have worked for 3 different small businesses since graduating college, and I've often put in a lot of effort, some surprise 10-hour days, canceling and rearranging my own projects as needed, working late for someone else's dream, when I didn't really have to. But I felt like I was supposed to. I have spent a lot of time working towards other people's ideas. My problem is never a shortage of wild ideas. I have plenty of those of my own. My problem is time, because I need more of it than there is, and yet I've still wasted a decade of it somehow. I've been trying to ignore this whole end of the decade phenomenon thing going on right now because 2019 marks the end of a lost decade for me. 10 years ago, I graduated high school, and now 10 years later, I live in the same house, in the same neighborhood, with the same bank balance, with a whole lot of student loan debt, and a different but equally unrealistic and selfish dream. What are you going to do with your one wild and precious life? Asks Mary Oliver. I'm an incredibly lucky person. I have a family that supports me and I have benefited from a lot of privilege in my life, still do and will, and because I want even more, because I want the impossible dream, I feel quite guilty. Always. With these advantages and all of this, yes, time, why have I got absolutely nothing to show for it? If I fail, it will be despite all of my advantages, and if I ever succeed, it will only be because of them. So what am I doing? What the hell am I supposed to be doing? I have the rare and remarkable chance to keep pursuing my dreams instead of doing what I'm supposed to, whatever that is, but ruminating on that often leaves me hanging in between. Between my guilt telling me to go work for the man and give up out of pursuit of some pride, and giving myself permission to fully give in to my 1 in a million chance to do what I love and nothing else. So a decade later, I remain a burden. And I write. When I can, when I allow myself. There are many things I do not allow myself. I am not worthy yet. I have not earned it, the rest. Literally and figuratively. And I feel like a total greedy bastard sometimes. And I get angry for not giving myself over to what society says I'm supposed to do. And I get angry with myself for not giving over what my ideas tell me to do. And I get angry with myself for still being so stuck between my heart and my head when I know only choosing a properly cleared pathway forward will let me get moving. And that was why I was angry this day. And instead of pushing away all I felt bubbling up, instead of curling my hair and trying to make something of a bad day, instead of leaning into the voice in my head that says, either you are productive every day or you are worthless, I ran away. Into the mountains, rather strange. I'm not really a nature person or a runaway person or a let myself feel what I feel when I'm feeling it person. But I needed a reset, a tantrum almost. And a day doing something I wouldn't really do seemed as good a solution as any other. So I drove for a good while and then stopped to walk around this little reservoir, and I took some pictures of the ice on the surface of the water, and I bought myself a fancy coffee at a small local shop and walked around alone around the tiny, very old mountain town and said to myself, you don't need to prove you're worthy of existing today. You're just gonna. It's still not something I really believe, but I want to. Sometimes I wonder what anxiety feels like. Sometimes I even wonder if this is what anxiety feels like. In my 2019 goals video, I mentioned wanting to look into therapy. Clearly, I didn't make that a priority like I could have. Maybe I should have. Thank you. I could have just started here and pretended that bad day, those bad nights didn't happen, but I haven't. I may end up regretting that, but this is my diary and I guess I'll do what I want. What were my goals for 2019? Well, my goals for my blog, the Closet Historian blog, that is how this all started, for those of you who don't know. My goal was to keep using it, which, sorta. I only posted about 45 times this year, and most of those were sharing videos over there from over here, but I'll say that was about what I expected and planned, so I guess I hit this goal? Okay, good. This one I guess is fine then. Then I had some goals about releasing sewing patterns, which, wow, that was a bit pie in the sky. My goal was to launch patterns, and obviously that did not happen. I do feel like I have done a much better job of sharing pattern drafting stuff here on the channel though, so that's something at least. But this is a goal that I did not even make time for in the least. So, well, that'll be a trend. YouTube, my goal was to get to 50,000 subscribers, which as of today, the channel is about 23,000. So thank you to all of you who subscribed this year. It's always strange to make number goals, especially when, it treats people as a number, which isn't cool to do in any case ever anyway. So, but my goal was less about having tons of subscribers, which is not something I really care about when I think about, people following what I do. I'm not really, I don't wish for fame, I suppose, which is an odd thing for a YouTuber to say, I guess. But I would like a channel large enough to sustain me, like financially, is what I really want there. And to me, 50,000 sounded like a good goal in that direction. But, we're getting there a little bit. It's just, my goal was to turn on monetization, which I did. So hooray for being able to pay my bills at least. A little bit less of a burden, not completely useless. It is good, I had a goal to make 2 videos a week, which didn't always work out for me, but I did make 77 videos this year, so that's good, I guess. That's a number I like, I suppose, now that I look back on it. That does seem like a lot for a year. I'm not saying all those videos were good, let's be real, but And then we have fiction writing. My goal was to get a literary agent, and nope. It ended up that I didn't even try. I submitted a total of 0 query letters in 2019. So yeah, this was supposed to be my biggest focus, and it ended up being the thing I ignored the most, and of course, the thing that I feel worst about. Because in this case, I didn't even try. And of course, you have no hope of succeeding if you don't even put yourself out there. I think one of my biggest failures of 2019 was choosing comfort always and constancy over the unknown and over growth almost, I chose comfort. And in some ways that I may go into in a second here, I needed to, because there were other things in my life that were uncomfortable and something had to stay constant. And if that could be my, day off routine, then maybe that's what it needed to be. I feel like my goals last year were in the context clues around these numbers and suggestions I had laid out. My goal was to get a lot closer to financial independence, and I'm not a lot closer, but I am a little closer. And my biggest area of opportunity, as ever, is patience. Like I said, we're going to start, on the bottom and kind of work our way up in this video as far as, mood and lack of general cheer. So we kind of started with me whining. But this is my diary part of this whole thing, the vlog part of the video blog channel, sort of. I don't do a lot of vlogging, as we know. It's mostly reserved to these side hustling videos, and a lot of the times I feel free to say almost whatever I want here because they don't get many views. So those of you who have watched, especially to this point in this video, you are a rare breed, and I appreciate you extra for sticking through these rambling vlog entries, as opposed to, my much more usual style of video. But making this series helps me contextualize. Wow. Helps me contextualize my own experiences in some ways, helps me catalog what I'm doing, helps me to look over what I have and have not accomplished. And that is what I'm going to finish with today in this video today. The things that I accomplished in 2019 as opposed to what I perceive as my shortcomings from the past year. So I want to end on a higher note. So I want to talk about the things that I did in 2019 that I am proud of or that made me happy. What a wild idea, I know. So I do have notes here and I will be, referencing those. But let's see here. Biggest accomplishments is the title of the list here. The first one is I wrote a book. I mentioned this in my side hustling video from August. I wrote the sequel to the other book I've written, basically, which is kind of a spoiler alert situation. But when and if I ever get a book published, you won't know which one of the ones I have written, the many I will have written by that time it is. So to be fair, it's not that much of a spoiler to say that I have written a sequel, and that's what I did this year. And like I said in that video, it is even longer than the first book in that series, which, yikes. I'm sure when I go back to it, I've actually been doing pretty well at keeping away from that draft and not going in there and editing it. I'm trying to let it sit, like I've said, so that I can come back to it with fresher eyes, but it's hard to be away from my book children. My books are everything to me, and they are what bring me the greatest happiness and joy is being in the thick of it writing, so it's hard when I'm not doing that because I'm like, I forget what it's like to have that high, which I don't and have not ever really been a drug person, but I assume it must feel sort of that great. And why would I be when I can just sit and write? And it's much more exciting evening for me, but I digress. So definitely writing that book was the highlight of my 2019. The best days I had were working on that. The best moments I had were working on that book. It brought me the greatest joy out of anything of my year, which, a lot of people I'm sure have people who bring them joy. I have fictional people who bring me joy, which, I should probably work on that balance a little bit, but we'll get into that in the goals video, won't we? Something else I feel like was an accomplishment this year is I think I really did step up my videos here on the channel. Not necessarily these side hustling ones because they're just kind of the same rambles as usual, but I think my other videos I tried to really step up the quality of my lookbooks of what I can do basically from home in some ways, because it's easier to shoot lookbooks outside when it's nice. Other than the fact that you have to like rope someone else in usually. I haven't figured out how to shoot a lookbook remotely out in the wild with just the camera and not a friend helping me or something, or my mom usually. So I needed a solution for when the outside, because for a lot of the year here in Colorado, outside is kind of like dead plants and dirty snow, and that's just not attractive. So I needed a solution of where I could film by myself, just with me and my tripod, any day I wanted to, no matter the weather. And so my set that I built this year has been the solution for that, and I'm really proud that I pushed through and got that done and spent the money on that, really invested in that and in the time to make it, because it's been so much more useful. As much as I've stressed myself out by trying to make tons of lookbooks this past fall, it was amazing that I could just do it any day I needed to get it done. I could, because my set was just there waiting for me. So that was cool. And I am proud of a lot of the videos I made this year, probably mostly I really like the Haunted Mansion inspired, like spooky one I put up on Halloween. I always put things up on like these epic dates. Like I put something up on Halloween or I put something up on New Year's and I think, oh, that'll do what? And why? People are not on the internet on those days. I'm so silly. Like it seems like a good idea to post them on holidays or post them on the day that they correspond to, but like people are busy on those days. Silly me, but I really like that video that I did on Halloween, and I like my Star Wars lookbook video, of course, mostly because I put so much work into that if I didn't like it, God, that would really, really be a bummer. So those are probably the videos I'm most proud of from this year, and I'm glad that some of the sewing videos really took off, or the sewing like diary patterning videos did really well, and that has been really encouraging because it shows me that there is a desire for that sort of content, and hopefully, as I make more videos like that, I will get better at them. I've had some people like comment on those videos as if it's like, scripted and a production team or almost like behind it. It's like, it's just me. So like, yeah, I'm going to be repetitive and it's sort of stream of consciousness as I go through those videos, but that's just because it's just me filming on my phone in the sewing room. It's not like I script my sewing videos in any way, or this video in any, well, I scripted some parts of this video, obviously, at the beginning I scripted of this video, but here at the end, I'm just rambling to you as usual. You're welcome. Something else I'm excited to have done in 2019 was reopening my Etsy shop. I was kind of like much more stressed about this beforehand, and then when I did kind of restock the shop and sort of relaunch it a little bit with that first round of thrifted finds, I was really pleasantly surprised at how the response to it in general, and how also much fun I had doing all of that. It is a lot of work, both, going out and thrifting, and you're tired at the end of the day if you're doing like outsourcing clothes all day or items. It's tiring, but super fulfilling. The shopping itself is really fun. Like finding gems out in the wild is super fun. And it always has been. That's why I knew I would, not mind picking up extra things to pass on to people who have less fruitful thrift stores, as I always say. But the like laundering, photographing, listing process isn't the most fun thing, but like it's super gratifying when people leave reviews and say that like everything fit and they really like the item. That's really, really quite like encouraging and cool and something I wasn't expecting. So I think I will be leaning into working on the Etsy shop a little bit more in this next year, because I thought it was going to be very much like a very side hustle, a thing that I really, didn't set aside extra time for that I was just going to try and tack on. But it turned out that it requires a lot of time. So if I want to do it, I am going to have to carve time aside for it. And I do want to do it. So that was what I learned from that experience. And I'm happy to have reopened the shop. And I am excited because I have a bunch of stock that I just got recently to go through it all, wash everything, photograph everything, and get that up soon for those of you who want to shop my finds or kind of like shop my taste of stuff. I do try and be quite picky when I'm out buying things for the store because I don't want to buy anything for the shop that I wouldn't wear myself. I find things that aren't my size, so I can't wear them. But if it was my size, would I buy this and wear it myself? And if the answer is no, then I leave it behind. So I have left a couple things behind because maybe they were great, but there was like a little bit of a condition issue or things like that. But I think that's what's allowing me to feel good about the shop still, is that it really is just more finds that I would totally have in my own closet that I'm just making available to other people to put in theirs, I suppose. Something else I almost considered an accomplishment this year was I left my day job finally. I've had, as I've said in videos in this series before, I've had many different jobs since graduating college several years ago now. Some of them full-time. I had like a full-time managerial position at one point. And then I've had like part-time jobs. I've had retail jobs. I interned at the Denver Art Museum for a little while, which was fun. I've done lots of different things since I graduated college. None of them have allowed me to move out of here, which it is a nice room, we can all agree. But I would like to have my own place, of course, and my own life. But leaving this day job felt a little different because I was leaving it with the idea that YouTube was now my day job, my part-time job, as it is. There's often weeks where I spend full-time time on YouTube videos, definitely a lot of the time. As we can see in my last video, I spend a lot of time on that Star Wars set, for example. For one, 10-minute video, I spent a couple of weeks on it, getting everything together and putting everything together in the end. But it's going to be so much easier now not having to schedule all my creative work for YouTube, writing, blogging, whatever I need to get done around going to a part-time job. And I'm super, super lucky to be in this position where I don't have to have a day job anymore, that YouTube can be my day job for now because I do have such low bills because I live at home. My, bills are nowhere near where normal adult humans are. And of course, now the quest is to build from this sort of part-time income I make online into an actual income I can then live off of and can do the whole moving out, having my own place, having my own everything situation. I think Western culture and American culture specifically, at least seems to me, very much places a large value on, pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps and paying your own way and making your own way and everything being very individual and not relying on anybody else. So of course, part of me, a lot of me, that's what I want. I want to be completely independent, especially financially. But it's just going to clearly take a lot longer than I ever thought it would. But I have to learn to be okay with that because my family are, which is extremely kind of them. And again, I feel guilty all the time for this. So I should learn to be okay with it too, because stressing about it doesn't help me get anything done, as I've said here on the channel before as well. But anyway, no more day job. YouTube is the day job. More news on this front soon. And then another more personal sort of thing that I accomplished in 2019. It doesn't really feel like an accomplishment, but it kind of does, so here it is that I sort of came out to my parents. For those of you who don't know, I identify as asexual and queer. I have a video about that here on the channel. It's a little outdated now, which I would like to talk about this in a video in general. I would like to talk about questioning your sexuality as an adult in a video in general, because I think in a lot of ways people don't give themselves permission to, which leads to a lot of stress. I know I don't give myself permission for a lot of things, but to look inward, sometimes it's you don't have time to figure your shit out. So just ignore it and put everything in the back of your mind. Stuff, I mean, I'll replace that with stuff. I don't want to curse on my channel. This is not a family-friendly channel, though, because God knows we can't deal with that mess anymore. But yeah, I kind of had to, or I felt I had to, reaffirm my queerness to my family. I felt like as much as my asexuality was understood, it was understood to be like the end all and be all, which I think at one point I thought too, but I'm more interested in possibly dating and finding a companion than I ever have been or ever realized I have been in my life. And it's been an interesting discovery, but I just felt I needed to reaffirm everything about who I was so that I could be more free and open to be who I am around the people who love me and I love most. So it didn't happen the way I wanted it to, really. It kind of just came out in a messy time anyway. But it was just one of those things where it was like, God, we need to put everything on the freaking table. So let me just come out with this as well. Why not? We're piling it on. We were having a week where we were piling it on here. And I was like, also this, because, we're just going to get it all out. And it is a relief for me to have it out because now it is no longer sort of my stress, my problem. I don't have to think about it in the same way anymore. I don't have to worry about it. Which, even if you have the chillest family in the world and you live in a liberal area and you don't feel unsafe ever or anything like that, or for me, I don't really I don't think people code me as queer when I go anywhere because I'm so femme and I don't also go anywhere, she says in her pajamas. So you would think you don't have to worry about being out and being who you are, but it still is extremely nerve-wracking to say those things. I don't know. You don't, for whatever internalized homophobia reason, you just don't want to say to your parents like, hey, by the way, I'm going to date girls maybe. And it's like, you're nearly 30, Esposito, get it together. So again, I will probably talk about this more in another video here on the channel eventually. I would like to start making kind of more personal videos. It's just, I don't know, I feel like it's so much easier to make content where I am being more instructional or, talking about sewing, talking about vintage style, things I know a lot about that are much more educational almost videos. Not that I'm an expert, but it's obviously easier to do educational or even hauls and style content than it is to talk about more personal stuff. But I think, I love YouTube channels where people talk about their opinions, their life experience, their, not necessarily advice, but their experiences, because it helps me as a viewer feel less alone and helps me feel kinship with them, even though I may never meet them. And if I could be in any way a friend, a digital friend to anyone else out there through my videos, I think I would like to be. Whenever people ask, why did you make this asexuality video? People comment sometimes on that video and say, this has nothing to do with the rest of your content. And I have just as many comments that say that, but for every one of those, I have 2 that say, thank you for making this video. Representation is really important, and it's nice to see someone else talk about this. So I do think it is important to talk about different life experiences sometimes and be the voice when sometimes there aren't many voices out there. Anyway, that got really serious. And like I said earlier in this video, I think one of my biggest failings of 2019 was staying comfortable. And, that's what I was saying. Sometimes I think I needed a comfortable constant when I had some other drama going on or was stressed about other things. It was nice to have kind of okay, well, at least I'm not getting, at least I'm not worried about my family rejecting me for being queer and worrying about getting 3 actual rejection letters in my email inbox, because sometimes you can only deal with so much rejection at once. And I was worried about different types of rejection this year, and I just could only handle a little bit at a time. So I didn't, have rejection letters coming in for queries because I was worried about a different kind of rejection, basically. And I think subconsciously I was like, I need to just be comfortable or more comfortable this year than I thought I was going to. But of course, now I have the problem of needing to query again. And so that is something I will be working on here in 2020. And I'll talk about that. And I have a separate goals video coming up later this week. So I'll talk about that then. And so I do want to push myself to be more vulnerable and more uncomfortable and more spontaneous in 2020. I'm really not a spontaneous person at all. People who know, who have ever tried to, friends in my life who have ever tried to make plans with me, when it's they're on Monday, they'll say, if you want to hang out on Thursday, I'm like, whoa, that is way too soon. And they're like, it's literally days away. But no, I can't, that is too spontaneous for me. So I'm going to work on that hopefully a little bit, because I think I need to, they say you only grow when you're pushed out of your comfort zone. And so I need to get out of my zone a little bit, including when it comes to things like making new friends. hopefully, and possibly even dating. Oh God. So we'll see. I just know that, and I'll be talking about this in my next video, like Joe March, I love writing, but sometimes I get lonely. So I'm going to try and work on that. And yes, I have been to see Little Women twice already. It's actually January 9th as I am filming this sit-down portion of this video, and actually a lot of this video. I recorded the voiceovers for the rest of this today. Everything recorded today, footage in the beginning, however, from a different day back in November where I was not feeling so great. But I've already been to the movie theater twice in 2020. We're only not even 10 days in, and I saw Little Women twice, and I have no regrets. I would go again, although, I know now to wear no makeup and bring lots of tissues, because that's a movie about being in love with writing and fighting through the creative process. And so no wonder I feel like I can relate a little. But anyway, I am rambling again. Thank you as always for tuning in to this video here. Thank you for tuning in to Side Hustlin'. It means a lot to me that anyone listens to my diary entries. I'm glad it's not a ton of people, though. If all my subscribers watch these videos, I might have to be a little bit more careful and less open. But I think there is some value in recording a journal entry for future me, hopefully. And I'll see you all for another one later this week. Bye.